We appreciate you being part of today's session, and we are focusing on your questions being answered on being a crop insurance agent or loss adjuster. And we appreciate the partnership that we have with Risk Management Agency, and they are the key funder, and we are one of 4 pilot projects across the United States in this project. And you'll learn more about the project in the ensuing hour plus. We have scheduled this for an hour and a half. If people want to hang around that long, we will continue the conversation, but we know that some of you have to drop off after an hour, and that's perfectly fine. Just a reminder here, please mute yourself during introductions and the initial slide sets and initial questions. And as we go along towards the last portion or the last half of the program, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away. So we are going to have a conversation here. That's an important part of the program. But we do have some questions that were provided ahead of time, and we're going to allow our many panelists to weigh in on those questions before we address some of the other questions. And you might find that your question is answered during that Q&A portion. If you do come up with questions and you're afraid that you're going to forget before we get to the live Q&A, you can certainly put those in chat and we'll respond to those as well. And then during the open Q&A, just to make sure that you raise your hand and be recognized so we don't have total chaos on the session. So we do want to address everyone's questions. We want to have as many people participate as who want to, but we do need to keep a little order there. So just know that we are having our brief welcome by Annie's Project. I'm Doris Mold, and I am one of the co-CEOs of the project. And we'll have a little bit of an introduction here from everyone that is participating as a panelist or otherwise a participant. And just know too that we're going to have a welcome and introduction from Administrator Marcia Bunger from RMA. Then we'll have a brief slide set from Deputy Director Sean Patrick, and then we'll have our introduction of our panelists, Q&A from questions received in advance, and Q&A open for participants. And then next step, if you're interested in becoming more involved in this project. Some of you have already indicated an interest. We had a meeting on April 4th, and there is a recording of that meeting available on our Annie's Project website under resources. If you happen to miss that meeting, you're welcome to certainly take a look at that at whenever it is convenient for you. Just a few details. We are on Annie's Project is a national nonprofit. We have co-CEOs, and we're governed by a board of directors. We're spread across the United States and US territories with occasional international program for those of you who might not know us. Right now, Annie's Project is taught in 38 states and 1 US territory. We have 800 plus people that have been trained to facilitate Annie's Project courses, and we have over 19,000 women that have participated in the courses, and then additional women that have participated informally. That's why you see the 19,000 behind my head and behind Carisha's head, and that is just to signify the 20 years and 19,000 women that we've had. We have risk management education is at the core of what we do, and so our partnership with RMA is right in line with our mission and what we're about. Just so you know a little bit about our vision and mission, women in agriculture are change agents who strengthen their businesses, families, and communities. And we're about, to empower women in agriculture to be successful through education, networks, and resources. So before we get to RMA Administrator Marcia Bunger, I'm going to ask our Annie's folks that are on to just say hello, introduce themselves. Some of them will be playing a role here. So Carisha, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Carisha Devlin, and I also serve as co-CEO of Annie's Project along with Doris. And so happy to see so many of you here today.
And thank you, Carisha. And I'd like to call on Ruth Hambleton.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ruth Hamilton, founder of Annie's Project. Welcome to the program.
All right, and Madeline Schultz hopped on as well. Madeline, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. This is Madeline Schultz, and I am the president of the board and excited about this project.
Great. Thank you so much. And now we're going to hear from RMA Administrator Marcia Bunger, and then we'll have Deputy Director Sean Patrick. They'll be spending a little time with you. And then after that, we'll have our panelists introduce themselves. So I'm going to stop sharing and let Administrator Bunger take it over.
Thank you so much, Doris. My name is Marcia Bunger. I am the RMA Administrator. I came to this role approximately a little over a year and a half ago. And I came from just the same places you all have come from. I'm a farmer. I'm a farm wife. I worked off farm to supplement my operation. I worked for FSA for 25 years, and then I went into the private sector selling crop insurance. And from those experiences was born this idea of building resiliency. And I am so honored to have Annie's Project be one of the partners in this particular partnership. It is my dream that we are able to recruit, train, and hopefully assist in getting you hired to be either a loss adjuster or a crop insurance agent, not only to supplement your income, but to have a viable type of career in doing the things that you love to do. And that is working in agriculture and serving agriculture itself. My path has been a very windy path, as I'm sure all of your paths have been windy as well. And I'm just really looking forward to hearing the questions and the dreams of all of you being able to maybe someday being your own business, maybe working for an agency. You know, also on the line, I do want to acknowledge Pat Swanson. Pat Swanson's career probably has been very windy as well. She is a farmer. She is a crop insurance agent. She owns her own agency, and she's also on the RMA FCIC board. And that board does incredible work in approving, reviewing, looking at different types of policies, crop policies, commodity policies as they come through RMA and that are delivered to the producers that we serve. So I thank you, Pat, for being on and participating. I don't want to spend too much time doing all the talking, but again, thank you, Annie's Project. You reach such a large audience, particularly women, and the work you're doing is incredible. And like I said, I am so thankful that you are willing to also be in this role, and that is to realize one of my dreams, and that is to have more crop insurance agents and adjusters in an underserved part of agriculture. But with that, I'll turn it.
Okay, thank you. Sean, are you willing to show us your slides and introduce yourself, please?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks, Doris. Again, it's nice to see all these familiar faces. Marcia mentioned Pat. Also heard someone from AgriSampa. We've done some work with Margie and others, and recently we're on the Farm Her podcast, as a matter of fact. So it's good to see all these familiar faces out there. Can you see my slides? Are those
yes,
showing?
sir.
Okay,
yes.
Great. All right. Well, let me put it in presentation mode and let's get rolling here. Okay, so today we just want to kind of give you a basic overview of the Building Resiliency program and tell you a little bit about risk management education and what we do. So one of the things we seek generally is to aid program growth and expansion. You know, the more farmers that take part in crop insurance, the stronger that national safety net is. And our overarching goal is really to ensure that we cover all the areas of agricultural risk. Those could be production, marketing, financial, legal risk, human risks. And we actually have projects that kind of touch on all of these projects that RMA is currently funding. Our big priorities right now are reaching underserved producers, also beginning farmers, military veterans, women. We are also really heavily promoting the microfarm and whole farm policy training across the country. We've been doing these road shows and presenting that to farmers and ranchers. Those are great policies. Oftentimes, if you can't find a policy that covers your particular commodity, whole farm is a good catch for that. We also promote climate smart ag and risk management education for livestock producers, organic operations, and specialty crops. We just wrapped up paneling actually to select some organizations that are going to receive our funding this year, but we work with several recipients. It's a very competitive process to get these direct awards and cooperative agreements that we oversee. A lot of the recipients assist the underserved producers and ranchers. Producers also receive assistance in understanding and using crop insurance and other farm safety net tools. And we're proud of the work we've done with organizations like Annie's Project, as well as other nonprofits and cooperative extension offices and many other great partners. Currently, we have 16 projects totaling $2 million. Those began last year. And again, those include many great partners such as Annie's Project. Those topics range from financial planning to climate smart agriculture. This is a photo of Marcia. She went to the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff last year to announce those projects that we currently have. They're one of our many partners that we're working with. Today, of course, we want to talk about building resiliency, which is a collaborative pilot program that we have. The IAC, the Intertribal Agriculture Council, are kind of the head partner on this, but Annie's Project and Alcorn State University have been great partners helping us get the word out and putting together great events like today. Some of the goals of building resiliency: to educate and inform traditionally underserved communities about the possibility of becoming an agent or an adjuster. We want to help provide the mechanism, preparation, and provision for those folks that enroll to gain employment in the crop insurance sector. We want to make available an educational framework and career development to be licensed by states. We want to help strengthen connections between underserved producers and the farm safety nets and the agriculture industry. And we also want to provide the opportunity for future career ambitions in the insurance and help place in crop insurance agencies, sorry about that, and help place crop insurance agencies in contract with RMA and approved insurance providers. Our partner organizations are going to help us identify and enroll participants. They're also going to help us in providing that one-on-one assistance that's so vital to help support and kind of gauge the progress of participants, and also help us with the connection of participants to potential employers, hopefully until the participant has accepted a position. Again, just wanted to give a quick shout out to our great partners. Annie's Project, I see the 19,000 figure behind you there, Doris, that reaches over 19,000 underserved producers, large community of facilitators and educators. We've got the Intertribal Ag Council, Alcorn State University, as well as the Rural Coalition. This is Marcia at Las Vegas, actually, this past December, in front of the Ag Council, kind of announcing this pilot program. So where things are right now, here we are in May. Annie's Project, the Rural Coalition, and Alcorn State helped kind of kick things off this past October. And we've been putting together that training curriculum. They've been doing an outstanding job on that and setting up sort of the mechanisms for folks that are interested to put their names in the hat and say, hey, I would be interested in that. But the end game here is we're hoping to start the training early next year. There's a job fair coming up in December, so that'll kind of be our big rollout. Just a quick overview of how the insurance cycle works. Many of you might be familiar with this, but there's the application process, which an agent would assist with, and the coverage and billing part. The claims process is where our adjusters come in. And finally, program changes in the off season. And throughout the year, we get a lot of questions and folks suggesting particular changes that might be good for the program. And of course, Pat and others sit on the board and help implement a lot of those changes. Just some basic overview here of crop insurance agents. This means any individual who's licensed by the state in which crop insurance contracts are sold. They're also authorized by a company or a company's designee to sell and service a crop insurance contract. Loss adjusters are individuals licensed by a state as well, and they have to pass a proficiency test approved by the FCIC. Nationwide, I was looking this up, average annual salary for both careers is about $50,000. That's the national average, taking that into account. Of course, it's going to vary state by state, but as Marcia kind of mentioned and others, this is largely being promoted as a possible supplemental income for folks. Insurance agents, of course, help sell those policies. They provide farmers and ranchers with possible options that best meet their needs. They help with the insurance application process, acreage reports, processing those. Many of you are familiar with that at the Farm Service Agency office. And they also receive notice of damage and loss for the insured. Adjusters are the folks that will visit the farms and inspect damage, provide the insured with procedural guidance, also determine and verify those factors related to the loss, determine insurable acreage, and prepare claim documents. So this sort of sums up what I was just talking about, but both agents and adjusters are licensed by states. Adjusters have a proficiency test to pass. Agents have a minimum of 12 hours of specialized training to take. They have a competency test, and they have to also keep up on maintaining those proficiency standards and training. There's a minimum of 60 hours, I believe, for loss adjusters. That includes 24 hours of classroom training. And they also have to retake competency tests about every 3 years. There's also the need to continue education and maintain those standards, just like a licensed agent. And I'm going to wrap up. That's just a basic overview of the program. Here are some contacts up here. Of course, you can reach out to Doris. Feel free to reach out to our office as well. That's rma.risk-ed@usda.gov. Michael Heiserman is our director, and he's done a great job of kind of corralling everyone together. But at this point, I will turn it back over to you, Doris. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. And thank you, Administrator Bunger, too, for your words of wisdom. And we're hoping to hear more from you. But before we get started, we'd like to just go around the room here with our panelists and have them introduce themselves. And so if you'd, introduce your name, who you're with, whether you're an adjuster or an agent, and maybe just briefly what you like best about the work that you do. So we'll kick things off with Bethany.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bethany Rentz, and I am a crop insurance agent with Irie Insurance. We're based out of North Dakota, but we do write insurance in several states as well. So a little bit about my history in becoming an agent is I started out as a crop insurance adjuster, and I did that for 10 years prior to becoming an agent. So I think my favorite part about being an agent and an adjuster as well is just having the ability to work with a variety of different farmers in our area. And from an agent standpoint, being able to sit down across the table with them, learn more about their operation, as well as help them make decisions of how they will best protect their crops for the growing season we're approaching.
Thank you. Linda. Linda, can you unmute yourself?
There we go.
There we are.
I'm Linda Freeman. I'm with Delta Insurance in Brownsville, Tennessee. And I got in the crop insurance business kind of by accident. I had worked with several companies, ag-related companies, and was national product manager for specialty products. So I toured 23 states in doing that job, and I've always been working with farmers. Like I said, I got into crop insurance business kind of by accident because we actually serviced and sold crop insurance to some of our farmers from our ag-related business. And I love working with the farmers. We work in Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Louisiana. So it's great fun to to be with the farmers and form a relationship with them and learn their operations and try to help them and guide them with some of the programs in crop insurance that would better serve them and their risk management.
Great. Thank you, Linda. Connie.
Yes, I'm Connie Kleeman. I'm from Nashville, Illinois. Ruth is the one that got me into crop insurance. I went to her in 1989 and said, I need something that's part-time that can help me get off the farm a little bit, earn a little bit of money. And she put me in touch with the Mount Vernon office, and it was all on federal paper at that time. So I worked there and through the crop insurance adjusting until 2001, and then began as an agent in 2002. It was a great opportunity for me. I loved meeting the farmers. I loved going out to the farms and doing the appraisals, talking with them, seeing their operation, and then now as an agent, talking to them and helping them make the best choice for their farming operation. It's been a wonderful, wonderful career.
Thank you, Connie. Mallory.
Hey y'all, I'm Mallory from Georgia. I'm a crop insurance agent with Carden and Associates. My office is also located in Georgia, and we cover the surrounding states. For me, probably my favorite thing about crop insurance is I grew up in the ag industry. I grew up in a farming family. It's something I've always been passionate about. So being able to contribute to Georgia's #1 industry is very rewarding, and being able to work alongside farmers and continue their growth in their operation is also very, very, very exciting and fun. And I look forward to this upcoming growing season. And thank you all for having me.
Great. Thank you. LD? LD, you're muted. No, yeah, you just need to unmute your mic. Okay, I'm still not, we're still not hearing you, LD. Maybe you can work on finding your mic on your control panel, and I'm going to let Pat go, and then we'll circle. Oh, wait a minute.
Okay.
You're
Can
there. You
can
are.
you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I
Great.
am
Thank
so
you.
sorry. I apologize
worries.
for that.
No worries.
Thank you to Ms. Bunger, as well as the USDA RMA and Annie's Project, for allowing me to be a part of the webinar today. My name is LD Whitehead, and I'm a crop insurance agent located physically in the state of Texas, but I'm licensed in all 50 states as an agent, as well as a licensed adjuster in the state of Texas and a surplus lines agent in all 50 states as well. I began in crop insurance in 2006 as an account representative. So roughly 17 to 18 years now. And I first acquired my agent and adjuster license near the end of 2005. I represent Hudson Crop Insurance as a regional vice president through sales and marketing, as well as a crop insurance agent, like I said, licensed in all 50 states. So my favorite thing about crop insurance is really that the food and fiber producers of the United States, otherwise known as the farmers and ranchers, are the hardest working and some of the best people that you're ever going to meet. The ag industry, and more importantly, crop insurance, is vital to the stability of our economy and the economic development of our economy. So helping those farmers provide a safety net so that they can be in business from year after year is absolutely my favorite part of being in crop insurance. And when I think about the difference I get to make in my local community, but also the country on a bigger level, it just gives me a lot of sense of pride.
Okay. Thank you, LD.
Yes, ma'am.
Pat.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. My husband and I farm, and we own a crop insurance agency here in Ottumwa, Iowa, and I'm able to have some sub-agents work for me, as well as a couple of in-office full-time agents working for me as well. And we're just very fortunate to work with farmers in, the fact that we're farming too makes us very relatable to our farmers. I think that has really helped our success with our business, and being able to get out on the farms with them, and we know exactly what they're going through. So I think we're very relatable, and I think that's been helped us be really successful, and we really enjoy getting to get with our farmers. This time of year is exciting. The planting is happening, and of course, busy season with acreage reporting. So thank you for having me.
Marvelous. Thank you. Megan.
Good afternoon. I'm Megan Morrison, and I am from Minnesota. I'm a crop insurance adjuster for AgriSampo North America, and I've been an adjuster for about 10 years. I grew up on a dairy farm, but honestly, I did not see myself being in the egg industry, even though I'm in rural Minnesota. And if you just go a few levels back, almost everyone is working in egg, right? Like whether they're in the field or working with turkeys, or my husband's an engineer working for a company that designs turkey manufacturing equipment. So, but I didn't see myself there. But life does funny things, and I am here, and I am so thankful, and it just brings me such joy to be with the farmers. However, the thing that I love about this job is that it's super flexible, and I can be a mom and have a career that it's so flexible, and it lets me go to the school things and still work with the farmers and do my paperwork. If I get my job done, it's all on my own time. We have 3 kids. Our oldest is a sophomore in college, and our youngest is a freshman in high school. So I'm going to be graduating out of this season, and I see myself making this even more of a career. But while my kids were growing up, I'm so thankful for the flexibility of the job.
Thank you. Erin.
Hi, so my name is Erin Cucci, and I work for AgriSampo as well. I am an area claims supervisor in the state of California, but I'm in charge of California, Arizona, Nevada, and Hawaii. And I've been in crop insurance. This is my 25th year. So I started, actually, I was still in college or finishing college, and they needed extra help. And it was kind of a really bad year, but my grandfather was a crop insurance adjuster. My mom was a crop insurance adjuster and still is, even though I keep trying to get her to retire. And so I'm kind of the 3rd generation, which is, I think, a little rare, just because crop insurance really in the history of things hasn't been around for super long, but he was kind of on the beginnings of that. Crop insurance, worked for crop health management a long time ago. So I really enjoy crop insurance. I was kind of going to say the same thing as Megan, that from the adjusting side and the claim side, it's very flexible. And I raised 2 girls with it. My youngest is a sophomore in college, and it's really allowed me to be present for those kind of day-to-day activities, PTA things, sports, etc., and really allowed our family to kind of have a good work-life balance, with everyone. So that's kind of what I enjoyed the most about the career.
Thank you, Erin. And Kayla.
Hi, I'm Kayla Lindsay. I'm out of Missouri. I'm from AgriSampo, and I am an area claims supervisor. And I'm probably a little bit different than a lot of people on this call, where I actually grew up in a rural community. I did not grow up on the farm. So my family did not farm, but I was really involved in the FFA. My dad runs a fertilizer and chemical company. So I started working with farmers on the retail side. Probably as early as 12 years old. So I've kind of been in that area. So there's a lot of people that say you have to be on the farm to be on this. You don't have to grow up on a farm to be in this industry. So I've been in crop insurance for 10 years, started out as an adjuster, and then moved into the area claims supervisor role about 5 years ago. I really enjoy, as Erin and Megan said, the flexibility that you have with this job. As long as you get your job done, you're good to go. And also I enjoy, as being an area claim supervisor, I have about 18 adjusters. So I love, and they're from ages, the age range is from 22 to 75. So you have lots of different generations in there. lots of different personalities. I love getting to know them on a personal level, finding out what their strengths are and their weaknesses are, because somebody that's 22 can help somebody that's 75 with a different thing than what the 75-year-old can help the 22-year-old. So I like to group those together, and they get to learn from each other. And then that's what I enjoy the most. So thanks for having me.
Terrific. Okay. So is there anybody that I missed that is in either an adjuster or an agent? Don't think I did, but just want to make sure. All right, so we're going to change things up just a little bit. Carisha is going to start off with some of the prepared questions, or the questions that were posed in advance. So these are questions that came from either you folks who registered or from some of the people who have expressed an interest in being part of the pilot program. We have had lots of questions. So we're going to kick it off with probably one or maybe two of those questions. And then we're going to open it up for any questions from the audience. And then for whoever can hang with us out of the adjuster and agent folks, we'll continue to answer those prepared questions or those previous questions. So we get all of those recorded as much as possible on our recording, and in case some people have to drop off at 1 o'clock. So Carisha, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you pose the first question. And folks that are our panelists, thank you for the information you've provided so far, but we're just going to ask that you just go ahead and unmute and respond, and we'll try to herd the cats, so to speak, while we're doing this. So we'll try to hear from as many of you as possible. Thank you.
Doris, if I could interrupt. Bethany, do
Yes.
you have your hand up?
Oh, nope, I didn't mean to if I do.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for checking.
Thanks, Ruth. All right, Carisha, go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Doris. So we do have a large panel, and as I'm asking the questions, I'm just going to kind of I'll pick somebody to start off, and then if anybody else has anything to add, please chime in and add. But if you think that several folks have kind of basically answered the question, then we can move on to the next one. So our first question, I think, is probably the primary one that most people have on their minds when they're thinking about going in to being a salesman or crop adjuster. And the question is, what does it take to become an agent or an adjuster? Training, skills, and time. And so that's a kind of a big loaded question. And Pat, I see you're kind of in my first little box. I'll start off with you.
Okay, well, I don't know the adjuster side, but I do know the agent side. And really there's a few things, there's some skills you really need to have in order to do this job. I think a passion to talk to people and not be afraid to talk to people is important, and really being focused on details. And so to become an agent, first you have to get your license. I think that's the small part of it, really, because you have to study and do some training to get your license and take your test. I have a new employee in my office that we were able to find a study guide for her for the Iowa test. And it looks like we looked online, and there's other states that do the same thing. They have a manual that you can read that helps you study for the test. And then getting the license, going either to a testing center or online, you can get your test done. And if you pass the test, you get your license. The cost is pretty minimal, really. I think it was $45 to take the test and $50 to apply for the license here in Iowa. Other states are different. And then once you do that, then we're going to be sending her to a 12-hour training class from one of the insurance providers that we work with. And she'll get her 12 hours. That's the minimum to get appointed to work with an insurance provider. And then, once she does that, then she'll be able to write her own policies, come later this year. So my path was, and I think the really important piece is just having someone to learn from is really important. My husband started this business, and I just got kind of started. I was home full time with my kids at the time, and he needed some extra help. And so just being in the office with him and listening to the conversations to really understand the business was really important. So kind of a long answer, but I think that's kind of what it takes to get started. But I've been doing this for 18 years, and truly I learn something new every day in this business, because that's one fun thing about the job is it's not the same every day, and there's always a lot to learn. And so being able to talk to people and ask questions is really important, especially to the insurance providers and your underwriters that you work with. So like I said, long answer, but hopefully that answered the question.
Okay, thanks, Pat. Anybody else like to add on to Pat's comments? Kayla.
On the adjusting side, Pat said she wasn't for sure, what the training was required for adjusters. So to become an adjuster, you have to go through at least 60 hours of training. 24 hours have to be classroom hours. The other 36 hours can be a combination of classroom training or writing hours. I always try to focus on writing hours, as that is where you will get the experience. And you'll be able to ride with those seasoned adjusters and learn what we really do in the field. So the classroom hours are really important, but as she said, that's kind of, the standard. Really, when you get out there and get to experience it is when you learn. And I have the three largest skills as an adjuster are: number one, time management. You're on your own. You need time management because you're making appointments with the farmer on your own. And you have to be focused enough to follow through with those claims and finish the documentation so that a farmer gets paid in a timely fashion. Number two, communication. Communication in life is important, but in the adjusting world or agency world, communication is extremely important to have good communication skills, because if you don't have good communication with the farmer and the agent, things can go wrong very quickly. And Pat, probably, I don't know if you've ever had that experience or not with an adjuster. Probably some of these agents probably have had some experience with that, but strong communication skills is huge. And number three is the willingness to learn and retain the information that you're given. There's lots of manuals, there's lots of rules to follow through the adjusting journey, not to mention those rules can change from year to year. So you have to keep up with that and make sure you're paying attention to your supervisors, your upper management that are giving you that information. Because again, you can get in trouble if you don't do that. So those are the big three for me. Aaron or anybody else may have on the adjusting side have something else they want to add too. So.
Does anyone else have anything to add?
I can add one more thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Megan, and then we'll go to Aaron.
So yeah, there's a lot of information to retain, and it's good to keep it all in here, but it's hard to keep it all in here. So being resourceful also, and just being willing to ask questions, but also knowing how to dig for the information, and relying on that information that's out there in the manuals or on RMA's website. Yep, just being resourceful.
Thanks, Megan. Aaron?
So I was just kind of what Megan said. So in California, or my region, we have over 50 crops. So compared to a lot of places in the rest of the country, they don't have as many crops that they have to adjust. I think we were talking today, Kayla and I think she works mainly 4 crops in her area. So it's a lot more dynamic just because there's so much to remember. So kind of what Megan said, is just being resourceful, using the handbooks, looking things up, and then really 4-H, learning by doing. It's just being out in the field and learning by doing. So.
Any other comments? If not, we'll move on to the next question. So Kayla and Pat had already alluded to part of the training is you get to follow and tag along with an experienced agent or adjuster. So how long is that time period? How long is the training period where they get to tag along with somebody to kind of learn the ropes, so to speak? LD. And you're muted, LD.
I apologize for that.
No worries.
Is my headset working now?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'm super sorry. I can speak for the agency side of that. You know, as an agent, if you do join a experienced agent to work under, you're able to work under them for as long as you can to get proficient with the program. But if you do not, and you start your own business, maybe you want to start your own agency. This is where teaming up with the right crop insurance AIP is crucial to me. So you can remember that you're an independent crop insurance agent for the company, and we both distribute federal crop insurance on behalf of USDA or RMA. So essentially the AIP is your partner in crop insurance. They'll be your essential lifeline to questions and to assist you through continuous training on the program. So we'll basically train you, support you, and help you as needed. Initially, that first year, you do have to get the beginning 12 hours of the intro to crop insurance, and then you can begin kind of working with your area rep, working with your underwriter to gain proficiency in the federal crop insurance program. Also on RMA's website, they do provide lots of resources to learn the crop business and the actuarials, and lots of documents on there that you can learn. It's at rma.usda.gov, and we do provide those as well, fact sheets and all kinds of things from a crop insurance perspective as a crop insurance AIP as well.
Thank you, LD.
Yes, ma'am.
Can someone speak about, from the adjuster side, about how long you kind of get to tag along with somebody to learn the ropes?
So, so it really kind of depends, obviously, on the area you live in. I think for California, Oregon, Washington, it's a lot different just because we have so many crops. So you really are job shadowing for a lot longer. But in general, I think even regardless of that, whether it's, 6 months, a year, whatever that time frame is, where we really stress the importance of having a mentor in crop insurance. And so I always like to ask people, even if I meet them for the first time at a meeting, like, who is your mentor in crop insurance? Because everyone has someone that helped train them, that's their go-to person they called. And so in my team, at least, and I think within our company, we really talk about that. Like, who's the first person to call? It probably shouldn't be me as the claim supervisor. You should try to call that person who is your mentor. And if you don't have someone, then kind of like Kayla, I do the same thing where I pair them together. So I pair a more experienced person with a less experienced person. And we really have been working within our company to have a stratification of adjusters because they're really, I think, in crop insurance in general, is a very aging claim staff. It's a great job, and it's something that people can do. I just had a adjuster retire. He was 89. So you can be an adjuster for a really long time. And so because of that, we do, and it's a great job, great benefits. So we have an aging claim staff because they just enjoy it and want to keep doing it. And so we've really worked to try to create a stratification of adjusting staff to have different ages within, and we're still working on that. Our company just started like an apprenticeship program, but within that, we really work on having mentoring. So even though, we would say, depending on the area of the country you lived in, that you would for sure have job shadowing, ride-alongs, all those sort of things. But even if you're a 3 or 4 year adjuster, you still have a mentor. You still have someone who is the person who's your go-to first phone call to ask those questions. And I have one still, and I'm like, hey, am I crazy? And I still call someone, to ask them those questions, just because you need that backup sometimes. So.
All right, thanks, Erin. Anyone else like to speak to that question? Connie, I know you've had, let's see, somebody just spoke up and
It's fine. I was going to piggyback off of Erin and just say that, Erin works with 50 plus crops out in California. I'm in Missouri. We work mainly with 4 crops, corn, soybeans, wheat, and some milo. I don't have the boot heel of Missouri, so I don't work with cotton or rice, but you do have cotton and rice in Missouri. But we want to make sure, myself as a claims supervisor, I want to make sure before we, so to speak, let that new adjuster fly and go out on their own, that they are comfortable, 100% comfortable with the crop that they are working. And so again, you have a mentor. You typically have the person, you know, Erin and I probably do a lot of the training, but probably what I would say 80% of their field training, the adjuster field training, is done by their mentor or somebody that I have paired them with that can be their mentor throughout. So it's helpful. But yeah, we're not going to send anybody out that's not comfortable. So
I'm sure that's a relief for a lot of people to hear.
Yeah.
But we're gonna pause from some of the pre-questions, and as time is getting close to 1 o'clock, we want to make sure that we're taking questions from the floor. So those of you that have joined in, if you have any particular questions for our panel, you can either put them in chat or you can unmute yourself and ask away.
And I know that some of you joined us a little late, but we are going until 1:30 for those people that can hang on. But we just wanted to make sure if you have to drop off that you get an opportunity to ask your questions. Well, so far, no burning questions,
right.
Carisha, so I think keep going on your.
On. Yes, well, if you do think of something, or maybe one of the questions that I ask or something somebody says triggers a question that you have, please put it in chat. So I wanted to inquire, one of the questions and is about peak work times and slow times. So Mallory, well, she looks like she's on the phone, so I'll go ahead to Linda. Would you speak to maybe what are some of the peak work times and then the slow times that you have?
Well, the peak times are renewals, which in our case in the South are 220. We have 228 for a few of the states, and then we have 315 renewal date for the Tennessee and Kentucky areas. So that's a busy time of the year to sit down with the farmers. It's kind of an awkward time because a lot of times at that time of year, they're not sure what crops they're going to plant. They're unsure of how their operation is going to be for that particular year. And then the other busy time, I guess, is around acres reporting, which is in July. And then we have wheat here, and the only month that we can renew wheat policies is in September. Not all of our policy holders grow wheat, so that's kind of a semi busy time for us. And then, of course, fall harvest, trying to collect all the information. For the past, I guess, 5 years, we have had an abundance of rain at planting, so we have been inundated with claims and filing claims and prevented planted claims where they were unable to plant the crop due to excessive rainfall. In fact, I guess it was 2018, the Mississippi River completely flooded areas. So we really had a mess that year. And then last year we experienced some drought for the first time. So our farmers in this particular Delta area have really relied on crop insurance. And we've really had to stay on top of it to keep them abreast of what was filing claims and what kind of crop insurance they needed for coverage. So they've learned a lot of lessons in the past 5 years here.
Okay. Well, thanks, Linda. Connie, you've had your foot in both worlds as a salesman, an agent, and an adjuster. What would you say were your peak times and slow times? Do you have any others to add to Linda's comments?
I think Linda was pretty much right on. As an adjuster, you have to be ready for replants, and that's even before the acreage reports have gone in. When I started in '89, we didn't have the computers, we didn't have the pins to tell us where we were. It was call the farmer, get directions, go out and look at the field. And a lot of times those directions weren't the best. It was, well, you know where that school used to be, you turn right there, and then you turn left. And so you had to really have good communication skills with your farmer to get to their facility and to their fields. Now I think it's a little bit easier as adjusters have the computers, the GPS. It was just getting started in that whenever I quit as an adjuster. But it was very busy time for replants, and then of course at harvest time whenever they were trying to get all their production done. They're harvested their crops. We did a lot of corn silage appraisals and wheat appraisals for the guys that chop their wheat. So that was always a busy time for us. And a lot of times with the crops, with corn, we were running ahead of the chopper, just trying to get those appraisals done before they got that field chopped. So that was probably the busiest time as an adjuster. As an agent, again, sales closing, you've got to get it done on time. Acreage report, you want to get it done properly. You want to get all that information so that the adjusters know exactly what they're doing and where they're going. So it's a lot of, again, time management, as has been said in the past here. It's a lot of fun. About the only thing I didn't like was climbing the grain bins. That was not my best. I didn't really care for doing that, but I did it. Not so much anymore.
Thanks, Connie.
Mhm.
Our next question, I was gonna gear toward Bethany and Mallory, and we'll start with Bethany. But are there fees to become an agent or adjuster? And then the second part of the question that the person had was, are the positions flexible?
Okay, so as far as the fees to becoming an agent or an adjuster, yes, there are minimal fees that are included with both. A lot of times, if you are being hired on by an AIP to be an adjuster, those fees are covered by the AIP that you're working with. So there's really not an out-of-pocket expense for you to become an adjuster, as far as the trainings and the exams, all of that. If you were to go and do it independently, then yes, you could have some fees incurred to be licensed as an adjuster, to receive your CAP test, all of that prior to joining an AIP. But from my experience, when I became an adjuster, I was hired on by an AIP, and they worked with me to make sure that I had all of the training that I needed, as well as the resources to take my exams. So then shifting gears towards an agent, yes, there are fees, again, minimal fees in becoming an agent, and it's for the coursework that you need to have in place, the study guides, different things like that, as well as the fees to take the exams. Again, depending on if you're joining an agency, some of those agencies will help you out with the costs of those fees. And some, they say, hey, this is you're going to be the agent and you can cover it on your own. So in my experience, most of the times the AIP or the agencies have been willing to work with new adjusters or new agents to get those licensings in place and fees taken care of that way.
So Bethany, I have a follow-up question, if you don't mind, in that realm. As far as an adjuster, if you're hired on by an AIP, are you paid to take the training, or is that on your own time?
So yes, in my experience, and maybe one of the claim supervisors could speak to that better, but in my experience, yes, a lot of times the AIPs will hire you on maybe as like a per diem contract until you're fully licensed, instead of bringing you on full time as an adjuster to in that interim until you are licensed. And again, ladies, if there's something that you want to add to that, like I said, that was my experience when I became an adjuster. Is they offered me this per diem contract until I was licensed and had all of my training hours in, as well as they offered the fees being paid by them, the AIP, for me to take my CAP test.
Thanks, Bethany. It looks like Mallory, you had your hand up.
Oh, yeah. So, and I'm going to talk about is the position as an agent being flexible, correct?
Okay. Yes, or you can add on if you had anything to share with Bethany, the question she was answering regarding the fees. You had
I think Bethany kind of covered that as a whole. She's had an adjuster experience, and I've just solely been an agent. When I was hired on, and I think it depends on whether you're an independent agent or if you're with a company, you're hired. I would say that most of the time your fees are going to be covered no matter what. There's not many, and Bethany might agree, there's not many fees other than, the coursework for the material, studying for the exam, I think the exam fee, and then there's not a fee for the license. You're rewarded that, upon passing. And then maintaining your hours every 3 years, and the fees there, they aren't that bad either. So it's pretty good all the way around. Do you agree with that, Bethany? Am I leaving any fees out?
I do, Mallory. And the one thing I would maybe add on to that in regards to the continuing education, a lot of times the AIPs that we work with provide webinars or trainings, different things like that, where we're able to obtain all of our continuing ed hours. So we don't have to go and get them independently. And to receive those hours from the AIPs, there's no charge to us as agents that write with those AIPs to attend those courses and receive those hours. So like Mallory said, the fees to being an agent are minimal. If you continue to keep your hours up and don't let that license lapse, that would be really the only way I can think that you could incur some additional fees.
Can I add on?
And some of the, oh, sorry.
I saw Pat, she lit up. I think
Okay, yeah, Pat. I was
going
going to say, let's hear from Pat as an agency owner on how she, has taken her agents as far as their training.
So thank you. I appreciate that. So on the fees, as far as licensing, every state is different. So in Iowa, I pay a personal license fee of $50 to get my crop insurance license. But in Missouri, I have to pay for another $50 for them to have a reciprocating license. But then my agency also has to pay $100 for a license from Missouri. So I think all the states are different. I don't know other states, but I think the fees are different. So I definitely would check with your state on what those are. And then as far as an agent, so in my office, I have sub-agents, and those are people that work as what I call a 1099 employee. So they work with their farmers, and they will get their acreage reports, visit with them about what changes they want to make in March. And then I split the commission in different arrangements with different sub-agents that I have. So I will split the commission with them, and they'll get a 1099 at the end of the year. With my employees that work every day in my office, I also want them to have their license, because to talk to farmers about making changes to their policy, they're required to have a license. So it just works best in an agency that everyone's licensed and has the freedom to do all the task of being an agent and taking care of our farmer. And those are W-2 employees. So I pay for all their fees. For my 1099 employees, they pay for all their fees and their licenses. But for my employees in my office, I pay for everything. And so it just depends on how you're set up. And then owning the agency, obviously I pay for mine too. So did that answer?
So Pat, basically your 1099 are contract workers, right? So they're not technically employees, but they're hired on as consultants or contract people.
Yes, yes, thank you for clarifying
Okay.
that.
Thank you.
And I wanted to mention Administrator Bunger's comment in chat. She said, for those that are interested in becoming an adjuster, depending upon which track someone goes down, if you're a contract adjuster, there could be some opportunities to do loss adjusting work for USDA Farm Service Agency for their non-insured assistance program, or NAP is the acronym. So NAP is the farm agency's crop insurance for crops that are not covered by RMA. So just wanted to be sure to point that out in chat. Going back to Mallory, I think you had another comment you were going to make.
I think I was just going to say that as far as the continuing education hours, the meetings are actually, they're very informative. So it's not like you're sitting behind a computer and you're just taking tests to obtain your hours. A lot of times your AIPs will host spring and fall agent updates, and you obtain hours from those, as well as sometimes, there's virtual meetings, but working with your AIP and their website, most of them are set up pretty well to, if you need hours or you need any information, or you want to learn more about that certain commodity or that policy, it's there for you.
Thanks, Mallory.
And Mallory, just to add on to that, my new employee, that's what she's been doing is when it's quiet in the office, she's watching the AIPs, webinars and recordings like this to learn and to get that information. So yes.
They're very helpful. I've really enjoyed that platform.
And one of the things we forgot to mention about fees is that your license, you have to renew it. I think it's every 2 years in most states, or 3 years. And and so there's a fee every time. So just another addition I hadn't thought of before.
Thanks, Pat. Mallory, we had also talked, and Megan, she's already mentioned this about the flexibility being attractive for this type of position. Mallory, did you have anything else to add about the positions being flexible?
Yeah, I would say that, being a crop insurance agent it's a flexible position. And I think there's factors that play into that, how big of an area do you service? And I would say too, it's not your normal job. Well, for me, it's not. It's not going to be your 9 to 5, because some mornings I might be in the office doing paperwork, production, acreage report, and things like that, and then in the afternoon I might be running after a grower or meeting them, or trying to get something signed, or so it's different from day to day. There's flexibility in there. And one thing I will say that I've learned that's important is always be available to the farmer. Especially, and be attentive. So if there's bad weather coming through, or there's going to be situations that where they might need to reach you, answer when you call. I know a lot of mine contact me through my cell phone, and they appreciate that, and returning their phone call in a timely manner and things like that. So it's not that you have to be at your desk 24/7. And I would mainly say that the position is pretty flexible. It's fun. It's day to day. It's different.
Thanks, Mallory. Megan, did you have anything else to add about flexibility? You said that was a real draw for you.
Yeah, so the flexibility is a draw, but I will add on to what Mallory just said, that technology allows it to be flexible. So if the farmer calls, if your agent calls, you're going to answer that. So if I'm at a ball game for my kid, or I'm in my office working, I'm going to answer those calls. So that helps it to be very flexible too.
Thank you.
I think I'd like to say, I think in our situation, we try to touch base with our farmers, especially at times when we know they may be having some trouble, because if they have to replant, they don't always remember that they need to call us and report that ahead of time. So we try to touch base with them when we know we get big storms coming through, when we have hail damage in certain areas, and you know, being available to them. And this time of year, you're pretty much you pretty much want to answer that phone or that text as soon as they send it or call you.
Thanks, Linda. We did have a question in chat asking, are there opportunities for adjusters in every state?
So yeah, I would say yes. Obviously, it depends on staffing needs at the time of that AIP, but our company writes in all 50 states, and we have adjusters in almost all of them. Like I cover Hawaii as part of my region, and so right now, currently, we have an adjuster who just goes over to Hawaii or two. But I know that AIPs look for adjusters in places like that if they have a lot of business. The same with Arizona. Our IP has quite a bit of business, and so we're looking for someone in Arizona. And I know, for example, like RCIS is right now too. So most AIPs write in almost every state, and or all states, and have adjusting staff for that.
Thank you, Erin. Does anybody have anything else to add on? Go ahead, Linda.
I would say that every AIP is probably looking for good adjusters. You've got a lot of retired people that have gone into adjusting, retired men, and an adjuster cannot work a farmer but 2 years, and then they have to rotate off and go to another adjuster. So I'm sure there's a lot of AIPs that would love to have some adjusters.
I agree with Linda because, I know most of the adjusters with us, they're probably in their, a lot of them, there's some in their late 70s. They've been doing it a long time, and they're very knowledgeable. So having the upcoming generation, that's probably a dying field. And I kind of feel like sometimes kids out of college, they don't know, what adjusting is, or they don't know, and they have all these questions, and it can be a great foot into the ag world, in the ag industry. If that's something that you're wanting to do, you've gone to school, maybe even just for agribusiness or ag communications or whatever, platform you did. And being an adjuster doesn't require a 4-year education, but it gives you the opportunity to put your face out there in the ag industry. And who knows, you might become an agent one day.
I would echo that just a little bit here. As Mallory said, most of the AIPs, a lot of the AIPs that we work with, every spring we get that question, do you have any names of adjusters for us? And so I do feel that all of the AIPs are likely looking for adjusters, not just in the springtime, but throughout the year. So it seems like a lot of times new adjusters are brought on in the spring because that's when spring adjuster trainings are held. However, I have visited with several adjusters that have come on through the crop year and into the fall as well. So I'd say from our AIPs in the spring, we get that question every single year.
I'll just add on that as they've all said, we've got some aging adjusters all through the AIPs, whatever AIP you're with. And so we're always constantly looking for people. I keep resumes. I get resumes every once in a while, and I keep those on file. We have, I'm sure there's different AIPs where there are disaster areas going on right now that they would love to have some adjusters. And the question is anybody willing to move? Are you willing to move? So that may be, just depends on the AIP. So, but there's definitely jobs out there. If you want to go look at the AIP list, you can Google approved insurance provider, and it will pull you up to the USDA site and actually will show you the list of AIPs that we have right now with their website, and you can actually go look at all of their job listings and what they have available if you're interested in an adjusting position.
Thanks, Kayla. So someone asked, can I do both? Can you be both an adjuster and an agent at the same time?
No, you can't do that. That would be a conflict of interest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We can, as agents, even go out into the field with an adjuster.
I've even got, I've got some farmers, actually one of them, his grandfather used to farm, and now he's an adjuster, and that adjuster can't work any of my book of business. So, you know, if there's certain relations in there, that's a conflict of interest.
As an agent, we have to sign a conflict of interest form and renew that with our AIPs every year.
Right.
Another question that someone has is wondering, is being a loss adjuster stressful?
It can be.
Depends on the year, right?
So, yeah, it depends on the year and the claim load for sure. And Kayla and I were talking earlier today, and so most of the West region is busy all year long. We don't have off time. We have crops that are, you know, being harvested, citrus, avocados, things like that, all throughout the year, as well as we have all of our perennial inspections we have to do. So those start kind of like December through the spring months. We start getting losses in February with perennial crops. So I think that can kind of cause a little bit. I think that possibly if it's just a normal crop year and you're somewhere in the middle of the country, the kind of break in that you have a little bit of off time kind of resets you, kind of like a school teacher. You know, you have summer vacation and you get reset, and then you go back to school refreshed, and towards the end of the season you're dragging a little bit again. But you know, we end up with some kind of crazy scenarios. I literally have like 30 emails about one claim that people are ping-ponging back and forth right now on my computer. So there are times where it can be, but overall, I think our company especially really focuses on like work-life balance and self health, mental health, those sorts of things. We have I just got an invitation, I'm sure maybe Megan and Kayla did too. They're having like a Women in Agriculture webinar on the 31st that kind of is talking about like self-care and like things we can do to you know, work on that. And so, you know, our company really focuses on that. And so I think and a supervisor, I try not to let my adjusters, you know, have those real stressful moments. It occasionally happens regardless, but we try to work through it and give them support. So.
Sarah?
I was just going to add a little bit on the agent side, you know, you know, they didn't ask if it was stressful being an agent, and I don't, you know, I guess I don't look at it as stressful, but it's so important. I think when you care about the farmer and you care about doing a good job, it's just, you can put stress on yourself, but I think it's so important that we get it right with this acreage reporting season coming up. You know, if it's wrong and then the adjuster goes out and works the claim, my farmer might not get paid what he was deserved to get paid. And, you know, this is their livelihood. So it is really important to be passionate about wanting to do a good job and having that attention to detail to make sure that you get it right, and you know, ask the farmer lots of questions to make sure you get it right, because the farmer forgets, oh yeah, I tore up a piece of ground and I want to insure that now, or, you know, or I'm not renting that anymore, and things like that. They make changes and they forget that they forget to tell us. So I think it's important just to really care about what we're doing, and get it right. It's important.
Thanks, Pat. And Megan, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I have a couple of things I can add. So the stress level is really dependent, I think, in our area on two things. the weather. So if there's hail that comes through, if there's wind that comes through, that's going to be, and it's big, or they can't plant, or it's too wet, or it's too dry. So obviously the private products specifically, the hail and wind become stressful times to get into those fields and to be that support to those farmers too, that look at their fields and they look just horrible. And so there's mental health there for them too, to be a support. And then the end of the year, kind of like tax accountants, like people either want their money by the end of the year, or they want to know if it didn't get paid out at the end of the year, they want to know at the turn of the year how much they're getting to have meetings with their tax accountants. So unfortunately, the holidays tend to be a little stressful because that's that time of the year.
Thanks, Megan. For those that are on that can see the chat, Sean put in some information about the conflict of interest. So you can look at that to read up a little bit more about it. We're winding down on time. I've got a few questions left, and some of them are similar, so I'm kind of trying to group them together. There's a couple of questions regarding compensation. What is the pay like, or what could someone expect to be paid for being an agent or an adjuster? And we're not asking anybody to share any real personal information about what you're making, but if there could be kind of a range, and also for those that are just perhaps interested in being contract 1099 employees.
I'd say it depends as far as the adjusting. It depends on where you're located. Somebody that lives in rural Missouri is probably going to start out in different. Their pay is going to start out differently than somebody that's in Aaron's in California, where the price, where the cost of living is quite a bit higher. So I mean, again, it varies probably throughout the industry, between the AIPs as well.
I think it also depends on your qualifications.
Yep.
When I started out as an adjuster, I was paid a per diem, but as I got more proficient in the crop and I did more claims, then my per diem increased.
Yeah. So
Bouncing off of,
go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Megan.
No, Mallory, go.
Can I talk? Or you want to talk me?
Go, Mallory, why don't you go ahead and then we'll go to Megan.
I was just going to say as far as compensation on an agent's point, one thing a lot of people don't realize is different commodities have different commission rates. So it's, it's not the same across the board. It's not going to be your typical set salary job every year. You have to factor into that, your book value might decrease from year to year, or it might increase from year to year. We always hope that it increases, but another big factor into that is commodity prices. That has a big play into commission. And I'm sure Pat can hit on that a lot, as far as, paying out commission rates and, as being an agency owner, because it's different. But I know here in Georgia, we got cotton at 72 cents. Like that's bad, and that affects not only, my book of business, because I've probably got 50% of cotton on my book, row crops on my book, but there's different factors in there that you just don't realize, commodity prices, like I said, commission rates, and those are, they could change too. They've changed over the years. I haven't been in it as long as some of these other ladies have. They've got a lot more experience in it, but they've seen commission rates change over 20 years, and that's substantial as well. So, but not to deter you, it's a very rewarding job. And it's another, as hard as the harder you work, it's what you put into it is what you get out of it.
Thanks, Mallory. Megan, did you have, oh, an LD, I saw you light up. too.
Yeah. So I was just gonna say that I think when I came on 10 years ago, just as a per diem, I think it was like 140. It's different now. And again, based on your experience, $140 a day. Plus you get mileage, depending on your AIP, I suppose, but I feel like that would be across the board, but I probably can't speak to all the other AIPs. And then when you're full-time, you obviously get a salary. So.
Thanks, Megan. LD?
Yes, ma'am. I was just going to speak and kind of piggyback off what Mallory said. Honestly, when you're starting your insurance book and you're starting to get in crop insurance, it actually kind of depends on how motivated you are to get out and sell contracts of insurance, because it is a commission-based selling job. So the reality is your earning potential is really in your own hands, and the sky's the limit for someone who wants to really pound the pavement and create relationships that ultimately lead to crop insurance sales. So, ideally for me, an ideal candidate for a crop insurance agent is someone who's motivated, a self-starter, disciplined, timely, and you have a good and ethical compass. And just remember that it's really in your own hands, and you can really work as hard, or if you're looking for a side, I guess you would say side gig, as some people would call it, that can be successful for you too. There's just multiple ways of looking at it.
Thanks, LD. I have one last question, and LD, I'm going to let you kick us off with it, if you don't mind. Someone is interested in being licensed within the next 9 months, or or 6 months. They'd like to be able to start off maybe this winter, this next spring. What is about the timeline? What can somebody expect once they start with going through the motions of getting licensed? How long is that going to take them?
So I would say that typically I see the typical agent getting licensed within the state within 30 to 60 days, somewhere right around that time period. And that's your first step. So your first step would be going to the State Department of Insurance, attaining your license in the state that you're going to be doing business in. And remember, that includes your prep time for your prep class, going and taking the state insurance test. Then you would want to get appointed with a crop insurance AIP. That typically shouldn't take too long. I would say probably you could contact them, just as Kayla mentioned earlier. You can look on the AIP list and contact and pick the one out for you. You would also need to get an E&O policy in place and take the SRA required trainings. So in my opinion, it's absolutely doable in 6 to 9 months. I would think even shorter than that time period.
Thank you, LD.
Yes, ma'am.
Pat.
And if you have an opportunity to maybe work with an existing agency, it would be much faster, because they already have the contract with the insurance providers, and so they would be able to bring you in much faster. So if you can find somebody, and maybe in your community, maybe there's an agent, maybe somebody that's getting close to retirement age, you might want to reach out to them. If they're in crop insurance and you're interested in that, and maybe visit with them, they might be interested in bringing someone along to for a transition planning maybe for them. So, I think there's opportunities to get into the business a little bit faster if you can find a existing agency.
I'd like to just circle back to LD. You made a comment that kind of, I think, flew a little bit under the radar, but you mentioned a policy. If you're an independent agent and have your own business, you were referring, I think, to errors and omissions policy. Maybe you can explain that for people that might not be aware.
Yeah, so an E&O policy, or an errors and omission policy, is a policy that an agent gets to protect them in case they make an error, an omission on a policy for a grower. So it would essentially pay for that error or omission that the agent made to the insured, so that they would be protected from an agency standpoint.
Okay, and so that's if you have your own agency, but then Pat, if somebody came to work for you, you carry that insurance, is that correct?
I do. I carry that for my sub-agents as well as my employees. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
And it's priced based on your book of business. So the size of your business, because it's the risk that the insurance provider for E&O is taking, right? So they want to see how much liability you have out there.
Okay, we just want to make sure that people are aware of those costs. So sometimes that you need insurance to be an insurance person.
Well, for those of you that are on, if you take a look at chat, Administrator Bunger, she added some thoughts about compensation and commission. So great comment to take a look at. We're kind of winding down on time. I just wanted to open it up. If anybody has any kind of final or closing comments that you would like to make.
I have one. This is my first experience with Annie's project, and I've learned a lot today, and I really appreciate being asked to be on, and have enjoyed it.
Well, thank you, Linda. We really appreciate you all being on. It's nice to meet you all, and I'm so thankful for your time.
And I just wanted, I was just going to add one more thing too. Just about being a crop insurance agent. I think one of the most important things is really understanding the farmer's business, and that includes the Farm Service Agency programs and the NRCS programs, and really the big picture of what a farmer is trying to accomplish on his farm and staying in business. So there's a lot to it, but it's not overwhelming. It's not something that can't be overcome. And I hope that we'll find new agents and people that want to get involved in crop insurance, because it is truly a very rewarding job.
Yeah.
All right.
Doris, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Carisha, and thank you, Administrator Bunger. I know that you have to move on to other things, so really appreciate your time today, and appreciate everybody's time, everyone that served as a panelist, and our participants as well. If we will have another opportunity in June, we will be, the latter half of June, we'll be hosting another session in the evening, and hopefully we'll be able to have some more of our producers on there, and hopefully some of you from the various agents and adjusters that are on with us today, perhaps you can join us again, or maybe some of your colleagues. So Sean, did you have anything else that you would like to say on RMA's behalf?
Not. I'm just so happy to see all of the interest in this program, and thank you, Doris, and thank you, Annie's project. I appreciate it. Marcia, did you have anything?
I think Marcia had to depart, at least. So any other comments from any of our panelists before we head out? All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and we look forward to moving this project forward, and we look forward to hosting another session, and appreciate your attention today. And we will be sharing this link out with other people that had indicated interest who couldn't participate today. But very informative session, lots of knowledge, lots of wisdom, really terrific to meet all of you and hear from all of you. And look forward to that next session in June.
Thank you.
And if you are a participant and would like to have more information or be part of the project, if you go to anniesproject.org and go to our resources page, you can go there and fill out a form, and you can be from anywhere. You can be as I said at the beginning, we're a women-centered program, but we do help anybody that wants help, and we welcome anybody that would like to be part of this project to fill out one of those forms. We'll make sure that we find a place for you in the pilot project. So thanks again, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great
Thank you.
rest of the day.